Have you ever heard the phrase, Carthago delenda est? Carthage must be destroyed for years. This was the relentless refrain of the Roman senator Cato the Elder. In 146 BC, his wish became a terrifying reality. But the fall of Carthage was more than just the end of a rival city. It was a pivotal moment that reshaped the ancient world and set Rome on its path to empire. Today, we're diving into how the total destruction of Carthage was a definitive turning point in Roman history. For over a century, Rome and Carthage, two titans of the Mediterranean, were locked in a series of epic conflicts known as the Punic Wars. From Hannibal crossing the Alps with his war elephants to dramatic naval battles, this rivalry was legendary. But after the Third Punic War, Rome didn't just want victory. They wanted annihilation. The city of Carthage was razed to the ground. Its fields were supposedly sown with salt to ensure nothing would ever grow again, and its people were sold into slavery. Why such brutality? Because, for Rome, this wasn't just about winning a war. It was about sending a message to the entire world. With Carthage gone, Rome's dominance over the Mediterranean was absolute. There were no more challengers, no other naval powers that could even dream of contesting Roman control. The sea, once a battleground, became a Roman lake. Mare Nostrum, our sea. This uncontested control allowed Roman trade to flourish and its legions to be deployed anywhere with unprecedented speed. The destruction of Carthage wasn't just the end of an enemy. It was the dawn of Rome's maritime empire. It secured the shipping lanes and trade routes that would fuel the Republic, and later the Empire, for centuries to come. The Punic Wars themselves were a crucible that forged the Roman military into the most formidable fighting force of its time. Before fighting Carthage, Rome's experience was primarily in land battles on the Italian peninsula. The wars forced them to innovate. They had to build a massive navy from scratch, learning to fight at sea by copying and improving upon Carthaginian ship designs. They developed new tactics, like the corvus, a boarding bridge that allowed their superior soldiers to fight on enemy ships as if on land. These long, brutal wars also professionalized the army. Soldiers served longer campaigns far from home, creating a more disciplined and experienced fighting force. The Roman legion that conquered Gaul under Caesar was a direct descendant of the army hardened by the struggle against Hannibal. Economically, the fall of Carthage was a massive windfall for Rome. The fertile lands of North Africa, once Carthage's breadbasket, now belonged to the Republic. This new province, called Africa, became a vital source of grain, feeding Rome's growing population and preventing food shortages. The vast wealth plundered from the city itself, along with the acquisition of its extensive trade networks, poured into Rome's treasury. This influx of capital funded massive public works projects, from aqueducts to roads, and enriched a new class of Roman elites. However, this new wealth also had a dark side. It widened the gap between the rich and the poor, as large slave-run estates called latifundia displaced small farmers, contributing to social tensions that would later boil over into civil war. The cultural impact was just as profound. Rome had always been a culture that absorbed and adapted practices from the peoples it conquered, and Carthage was no exception. Despite the utter destruction, Carthaginian influence seeped into Roman life. Some Punic gods found their way into the Roman pantheon, syncretized with Roman deities. Agricultural techniques from the famously productive Carthaginian estates were studied and adopted by Roman landowners. Even the story of Carthage's fall became a cornerstone of Roman identity. It was a cautionary tale, a myth of a worthy but ultimately defeated foe that reinforced Roman virtues of perseverance, duty, and martial prowess. The ghost of Carthage haunted the Roman imagination for generations. Finally, the sheer, unmitigated brutality of Carthage's end was a deliberate act of political terror. The message was clear. This is what happens when you defy Rome. The story of a great city utterly wiped from the face of the earth instilled a deep and abiding fear in Rome as other rivals and allies, kings and city-states across the Mediterranean took note. It was a demonstration of what the Romans called imperium, the absolute power to command and to destroy. This act of total war set a terrifying precedent and became a powerful tool of Roman foreign policy. It was cheaper to rule through fear than through constant occupation, and the memory of Carthage ensured compliance for centuries. So, the fall of Carthage was far more than a simple military victory. It was the moment Rome transitioned from a regional Italian power to an undisputed Mediterranean superpower. It transformed its military, reshaped its economy, influenced its culture, and defined its imperial strategy. The smoking ruins of that once great city laid the foundation for the Roman Empire. An empire whose legacy continues to shape our world today. The destruction was total, but in its ashes, a new world order was born. What do you think? Was Rome justified, or was this one of the greatest atrocities of the ancient world? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into Roman history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.